You're late.
This is Katana. She's got my back.
Man, what a year for DC.
Just within 1 year, we've gotten some of the best DC content in a while. Everything from the Snyder Cut to the recent Suicide Squad, from epic scenes with characters finally done justice, to weirdly inspiring moments where you can't help but smile, to, well, whatever this is.
Time for Anakin! I have the high ground!
But what these past two incredible DC films have in common is that WB finally let the directors do what they want.
We've seen time and time again with the higher-ups messing with directors' visions. Luckily, with the Snyder Cut, us fans were able to convince HBO Max to finally give it to us. And we got to learn the horrifying truth about how some higher-ups looked at this amazing scene and really thought, nah, pushing a car is more epic, lol.
Brunch. What is brunch?
Now we're even seeing a movement for the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad, which I would happily watch.
So every DC film with complete director control is perfect, right? sorry. Oh, I can't even get it out.
I need to find a way to touch a lot of people at the same time.
Yep. Let's talk about Wonder Woman 1984.
So, what? I don't even know how to explain any of this because, well, the movie doesn't either, but anyway, yes, you've read the title of this video. Today, I will be using the skills I've learned from writing 3 screenplays and 2 novels in my days. Today, I am going to do the impossible.
Make Wonder Woman 1984 good.
Now, look, I know what you're all thinking. I mean, this is too much of a daunting task for a kid in high school. There's no way he's gonna do it. Now, am I worried you're right?
No, I am not. A little, but...
At the very least, it will be better, which I know is a very low bar, but just stay with me.
Now, obviously, some things are going to be out of my control.
I mean, yeah, I wish I could just say better special effects because, well, yikes. But that's not something I can just write down and take credit for. Everything we will be talking about today will specifically be about the writing and story, which, in my opinion, needs the most work, which is saying a lot, but anyway.
I have a 5-step approach to making this new Wonder Woman 84, so I can make sure it accomplishes what it was trying to do from the beginning.
Because really the only thing it accomplished was leaving the audience scratching their heads. But before I get into my 5-step approach, I'll be nice and go over what I actually thought worked in the movie and what will stay mostly the same. But it's a pretty short list. First of all, I think Max Lord is by far the best thing about this movie. Not only in Pedro Pascal's captivating performance that just leaps off the screen, but also in the writing. He has the most compelling story and arc, with his strive for success and proving to his son that he can be something he felt his father never was. That scene of him yelling at that one dude as his son starts to see that things might not be going as well as he was told is one of the best in the movie, and it really made me feel for both characters. Also, I thought how he used the Dreamstone was really clever. So the majority of that will stay the same, as I feel like really the only problems with his character are problems with the Dreamstone's rules and logic instead of the character himself. Also, I know it doesn't apply at all to what I'm doing in this video, but I just want to say that I love Hans Zimmer's theme for Max Lord. I think it's really underrated in Hans's career, and it perfectly captures Maxwell's chaotic and manipulative personality. Now, another thing I liked was this scene right here. It'll be done a little differently in my version, but the main idea of the scene will stay the same. Steve Trevor's "I'm already gone" line was perfect, and I love superhero movies where characters are forced to make decisions that actually have consequences. Not like in Spider-Man or whatever, where Bully Maguire is given a hard choice to make by the reject Power Ranger cosplayer, saving between civilians or MJ. But then he just cheats the system and does both. But I guess if he holds the power of these killer dance moves, he's capable of anything. And finally,
which, again, short list.
I know this may be a hot take, but I actually like the idea of the Dreamstone. It's really unique as far as superhero movies go, and I think it's perfect for how every character starts the movie, as they all desperately want something. And including a Dreamstone is an easy way of throwing in themes of greed, which worked pretty well.
Alright, so let's get into it. Step 1 of 5 to make Wonder Woman 1984 so much better. Don't set it in 1984.
Much like The Last Jedi, this film is part of a universe. It can't just do its complete own thing like Rian Johnson tried to do. And yes, that will not be the only time I compare it to The Last Jedi in this video. Also, they are both second movies in a trilogy. Coincidence? I think not. So anyway. Now, I have a feeling at least some of you right now are thinking, well, the Suicide Squad isn't anything like the other DCEU movies. Why is that okay?
And my answer to that is, well, because it's the Suicide Squad. Do you really think that any one of the, well, apparently few people that went to go see this film thought walking into it, man, I hope they do Polka Dot Man, right?
I mean, geez, the film has this thing in it. I think it's given a little more leeway to do its own thing. Which, by the way, Weasel doing literally anything was probably the hardest I've ever laughed in a movie, but moving on. Also, The Suicide Squad is a clear sequel, and it's the furthest into the DCEU we've seen so far. So seeing Patrick Star completely obliterate a town is perfectly fine. Wonder Woman 84, however, took place before events we've already seen. And it's clear they at least pretended as if this was in the same timeline, as they went out of their way to show that she destroyed cameras or whatever.
I guess she just forgot about the hundreds of eyewitnesses right next to her.
In fact, why is Bruce even astonished when he sees her picture in BVS? He should know exactly who this is by this point. And who am I kidding? Why was everyone so terrified of Superman when this literally already happened?
I guess they just forgot as well.
And if you really think about it, there was absolutely no reason for this to be set in 1984, other than just forced 80s nostalgia. Except they didn't even do that right, as there were hardly any in the film. I mean, how are you hardly going to put any 80s songs in an 80s movie?
Who was the one that decided it was so integral for the story?
But back to my main point, this film needs to be set right after Justice League, which would also be a good way to give her sword and shield back. And for the sake of this video, when shielding her eyes from the horrifying CG upper lip, which might actually be someone's sleep paralysis demon at this point, I'll be using the Snyder Cut as the canon version. So yes, after the events of Justice League, there are stories circulating around the globe about these other metahumans that saved the world. Although, unlike Superman, who people were terrified of after the events of Metropolis, here, the people are envious of these people with special abilities.
Why? 1, because they went out of their way to save them without casualties, and 2, because it's 2020.
In this day and age, everyone wants to be special and important. I mean, just look at how many people my age want to be famous influencers. You think they wouldn't want these cool new powers to show off to people and feel accomplished? In fact, we even see how fast powers gain popularity in Shazam, and how much the public appreciates it now. Maybe they could have referenced that, and we could have some semblance of a shared universe in this shared universe. Maybe? No? Okay. But what better person to manipulate these people who want to feel special than Maxwell Lord? Instead of using technology like this, he's using social media to manipulate people to spend a fortune on his newfound business. A business where people can wish for any power they want. So as you can see, I'm keeping the Dreamstone in my version, which leads perfectly into step 2 of 5, give the Dreamstone rules. If you are going to incorporate something this high concept into your film, you have to make sure the audience understands it. Not just understand it, but know exactly what its limitations are. For my version of Wonder Woman 84, the rules are simple. At the beginning, they explain that this stone has the power to change reality at the blink of an eye, and that each person who uses it will only get one wish. But with each wish, there is a horrifying side effect that builds up very slowly. So choose wisely and wish at your own risk. In Wonder Woman 84, they were literally breaking their own rules, and the audience can't suspend their disbelief if they don't understand what's going on. I'm bringing up The Last Jedi again because this scene right here broke so many rules in the universe and brought up questions that were never asked before, and not in a good way. Knowing this is actually possible now, it just makes the rebels in A New Hope look stupid. Because why don't they just send a droid-controlled ship into the Death Star?
Yeah, I don't know why either.
And in Wonder Woman 84, why doesn't one of the millions of people who wished just wish for world peace? And what would happen if they did? Would that cancel out everyone else's wishes? Is there a hierarchy of wishes? And also, we know Max Lord keeps granting wishes so he can take what he wants from people. But what about the dude who wished for a farm and just had cows roaming everywhere? What did Max Lord take from him? Or was he just messing with him? But now, this high concept Dreamstone has rules. It's really that simple. No more inconsistencies with how long it takes to give it side effects, and no more weird situations where, well, you know why this scene is just horrible, and trust me, we will get to it later. But anyway, after the events of Justice League, it seems like Diana has it all. This strange Wonder Woman is starting to accrue a following of fans online, and there are sightings popping up all throughout the world, including the opening action sequence here, which can be in the Stranger Things mall or not, it doesn't really matter where. The only thing I'm changing is some more threatening criminals, because yikes. But anyway, on the outside, it seems like Diana has it all. She has the powers, the fans, who wouldn't want her life? Well, even this far in the future, she makes it clear to Barbara and Minerva, aka Kat's background dancer number 3, who we'll get more into later, that she would give all of her powers up in a heartbeat for Steve's return. And even Barbara is wary of her comment and how apathetic it came across. I do genuinely like the idea of her losing her powers with Steve's return, but in the movie, it kind of comes out of nowhere. So this makes it just make a little more sense here, as it's been set up since the beginning. But this leads directly into step 3 of 5, which definitely was the most uncomfortable part of Wonder Woman 84. Somehow.
I need to find a way to touch a lot of people.
But Steve Trevor needs to come back as Steve Trevor. I don't even have to dive that deep into this one. You know why this scene needs to be changed. And the fact that not one person working on this movie saw how bad this was is concerning. Diana literally stripped this innocent man's life away from him, did things he didn't consent to, and never showed any remorse for it. In fact, if this catastrophic event never happened, she would have never even thought to renounce her wish. It's just an unnecessary situation that makes Diana look like an awful person. Alright, just to recap so far, as it might seem like I'm bouncing around everywhere, I know, I'm not something of a planner myself. Step 1 was to not have it set in 1984. Step 2 was giving the Dreamstone rules. And step 3 was to have Steve come back as Steve. Now we're really getting to the nitty-gritty of this rewrite, as step 4 is make Cheetah better.
I understand that is incredibly vague, but just hear me out.
We have seen this exact same outcast turned supervillain but likes the power character so many times. It's getting old. And also, this movie was unnecessarily long, and a big part of that was developing this kinda half-baked friendship from the beginning.
Well, my version fixes both.
In my version, Diana and Barbara are already friends, and she also knows that Diana is Wonder Woman. But instead of making Barbara a dorky person like this who gets made fun of for literally no reason, she's more of just a geeky friend who always wants to hear about Diana's recent crime-fighting affairs. Think of her as a huge comic book fan in a world without comic books. I talked about it earlier, but the reason why she felt so wary about Diana's comment about how she would give up her powers for Steve's return is that she's concerned about all the lives that need Diana's saving. So when she finally does see Steve and see that Diana used her wish, she's almost upset with Diana, worried that her powers will dwindle. However, just like in the theatrical version, Diana gradually loses her powers throughout the film, until even some pillars wound her. So at the moment, she tells Barbara that she feels fine and that having both is possible. And she also tells her that Barbara has no idea how much they've been through and how much she needs Steve in his life. Another huge difference in my version is that mine is more comic accurate. She doesn't like being turned into cast background dancer number 3. Because, I mean, who would? Before Diana's power loss comes into effect, she convinces Barbara to use her wish to gain strength so she can help her fight the antagonist of the movie, which for right now is redacted, but moving on. And this eventually leads into an actual terrifying transformation scene, which I would have loved to see in the theatrical version. Now, as the cheetah, she blames Diana for turning her into a monster, and for not caring about the people she saves, as she was so willing to give it all up. And the best part about all of this is that Barbara is kinda right. So when Diana does finally have to give up Steve for good, she's doing it more than just because she has to, but because she wants to. Because she wants to make her wrongs right. Which makes more of a personal final battle instead of whatever this was.
You just have to want it!
Speaking of personal final battles, this leads to the last of my 5 steps.
That's right. Step 5 of 5 is a less end of the world finale. Hear me out. I cannot begin to describe you how bizarre this finale was in the film. And not bizarre in a good way like this. In Wonder Woman 84, it makes absolutely no sense. Not even getting into how the particle disc thingy is not at all how that works. But you're telling me that every single person in the world renounced their wish. What if young Bruce Wayne wished for his parents to come back? It was like, oh, I'm sorry, that's so gritty of me. Like, what? Again, it brings up so many questions.
None of them being in a good way.
My version is a lot more personal and intense, because you understand exactly what's going on. I already said that Max Lord is using these newfound heroes, aka the Justice League, to promote his business. A business where you can wish for any power you want, where you can feel special. So he takes about 4 to 5 of the highest bidders, showing to his son that he can be successful, and they all gain these supernatural powers. However, as we know, there is a horrifying side effect. These powers turn them into monsters, just like Cheetah. And this is a chance to come up with some really creative antagonists that can even be from the furthest reaches of the comics. Of course they get angry, but Max Lord manipulates them into thinking that the only way it can be reversed is if they stop Diana, as he now realizes that she's the only one who poses a threat to his success. So now Diana isn't just fighting random dudes with guns for the entire time like she did in the film. Instead of the White House fight, we get a scene of the monsters Max Lord created attacking Diana's apartment, as Cheetah gives the location of it. This leads to a really intense and high elevation fight, where Diana is just barely able to save the people in the apartment before Cheetah and the monsters retreat. Diana now gives Steve up before she puts any more lives at risk, realizing that with her level of power, she either has to save people's lives or sit on the sidelines and pretend as if she doesn't care. And Diana's heart won't let her do the latter. It's really kind of bringing up the one good thing I liked about Justice League, which, like, yes, as hilarious as it sounds, there is actually a good thing. But it's when Bruce accuses Diana of sitting on the sidelines for 100 years without doing anything because she missed Steve. Now that this is in present day, this gives her a way of finally being able to truly look forward. Not because she's forced to, like what happened in Wonder Woman 1, but because she realizes she wants to, in order to truly become what her mother knew she would always be, a hero.
I really hope this video made sense.
So, yeah, those are my 5 steps to make Wonder Woman 84 better. Trust me, I know it's not perfect. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't, I don't know. There's other minor things I could have touched on, like why in the world this fossil of a jet has fuel in it in a museum, or why the lasso of truth just seems to do whatever the plot needs it to do. But we'd be here all day if I did that, so I'll just leave it at this.
But still, even with all of these flaws in the theatrical cut of Wonder Woman 84, it's still somehow better than Justice League, so let's just give a round of applause for that, shall we?